My name is Jing, and I am part of the MindReset, a community dedicated to making this world a more supportive, inclusive, compassionate, and kind place. To learn more about how we accomplish this goal, check out our website at www.themindreset.com. For today's mental health and mindfulness, for today's mental health motivation and mindfulness Monday, also known as we'll be talking about voting. Today, I have my friend Dris here with me today to just share her thoughts about it as well. So Dris, why do you vote?
I think the main reason that I vote is that I see it as a privilege. I think it's something that really gives us power and something that was given to us to express our beliefs and our ideas and share what we feel that is important to us, whether it's in our communities or obviously something as big as even as the country. So I think it's important. To me, I see it as a privilege.
Real talk. Have you always voted ever since you could at the age of 18?
For the main elections, yes, like presidentials. I can't say that I was very educated with like the primary, like midterm elections. Now I am, as I will be voting on Tuesday.
Yes, I would definitely have to say it's the same. I mean, I don't think voting is like a regular part of our life. I wouldn't say that, I mean it is, but you know, when we were younger, people weren't exactly urging you to vote. Like you didn't feel like it was a necessity.
Yeah.
It's something you could do. It was something that, you know, you're like, oh, if I can make it to the polls,
right,
I'll do it. But now I think more than ever, I think people are beginning to realize that maybe it should be something that we need to do.
And not just for the presidents, for everything else.
No, yeah, that's a really good point. So I'm from Wisconsin, and I actually voted absentee. And in the future, I know if you're someone, you live out of state, and you're like, well, I can't vote because, you know, my address is registered someplace else. If you currently live where you live now, you can bring, you know, like your lease, or you can bring something that is an identifier to show that where you live, you can vote at your local location. But if you want to vote somewhere else, like for example, like how I wanted to vote in Wisconsin, I requested an absentee ballot. It was sent to me in the mail, and there was all these instructions, and I just, you know, filled out the ballot, really simple, took less than 5 minutes, had someone else sign it, and then I popped it inside, you know, the mailbox. And for some of the folks that I was voting for, I actually had to do the research, you know? That's the big thing.
That was it. You got to do your homework, guys. That was my biggest issue, too, because I was a little overwhelmed with the midterm elections because I don't know much about it. I'm from Maryland. So I really had to, like, sit down and put it in my schedule the last 2 weeks. I actually just did that. And take 10 minutes I think I did it twice, 10 minutes a day. And I just sat down and read a couple of the biographies and just what each of the candidates were proposing, and I didn't try to like let myself not be guided by anything and just sit down and really think about how I felt about it and kind of see how I'm going to vote. I'm not really 100% sure yet where I'm going with it, so got to do a little bit more research, but that's part of it. You got to do your homework.
Right. I know a lot of my friends, and currently where we're located is we're in DC, so it's a very political area. And I, you know, have friends who are like, I'm Democratic, I'm Republican, I'm moderate, and there's all these identities that people have, and sometimes they just vote because that person is in their party. But one thing I've learned personally, and it's a little tricky to do sometimes, is follow the policies. You know, figure out what this person is going for, and that can be a little tough because people do sometimes just say things, but some candidates genuinely have track records, right? So I'm not going to say exactly who I'm voting for, but I know that the individuals that I'm voting for, their past careers, what they've done in their careers, that in itself is a demonstration of who they are and what their values are. So while I don't know them personally, I can see kind of the profile work that they've done, and the ones that I appreciate are the ones that I'm following. I feel like voting sometimes is a little intimidating.
I think for me also, I was trying to find, I think for like the last 3 months or so, I was trying to find either like a group or somebody to like discuss points on and the candidates. I didn't find it. So maybe for next year we could like, or for just have like a community or something, somebody together, just kind of discuss points. Not necessarily they have to be telling me about what the candidates do, but maybe just like we all do our research and we kind of be like, okay, well, how do you feel about this person? I kind of wish I did have that, just have somebody to kind of like talk about. Kind of did it on my own. But
that's interesting. So for the Mind Reset, we are sort of like a playground is how we'd put it, but that's a really great thing for the future, because sometimes I feel like when we talk about candidates, not to say that it's, I'm not sure the right word is, but it's like selective almost, right? If you talk to a certain amount of friends, you know it's going to be swayed this way. Right. Or sometimes folks who are very politically inclined, you know that they're going to say a lot of like really strong points about certain people. But it'd be nice to have a middle ground where folks are, not to say like new or like not, but just like, you know, we're not crazy. Not even crazy, that's one word. But like, you know, very, very political.
Intense with it, yeah.
Intense.
You care about voting because you know that it's important. You may not be like super involved, or you know, but you're just trying to kind of like get your thoughts together as how you feel about a certain candidate, which was what kind of was happening with me. Like I felt a certain way, but I was like obviously getting your thoughts together in your head about what was important to you and what mattered. Was not that simple when you're talking to yourself. It's easier to at least have like a conversation with somebody about it and be like, and like kind of like have like a safe space. I think that was the main point, where you're not going to feel attacked. Like if you talk to your parents about it, and maybe they have like a huge influence over how you vote. So I think that was like something that is helpful. So if you do have somebody you can speak to about voting, do it. Because it's helpful.
Yeah, 100%. I'm really glad, like just listening to you too, I think you brought up a really good point about how sometimes people attack other people. Not necessarily like they're trying to. It's maybe just the way the conversation goes, because some of the political parties are really divided in their thought. And so I think that's something we can all practice, is stepping back and listening to someone say something and not just judge them like that person is this person now, you know? All of us can change our minds about something. I've changed my mind about, we were talking about earlier, food. Man, I don't have any idea what I should be eating. I'm like, should I be eating these fats? Fats are good. No, fats are bad. You know, it's just, think about how you change your mind on things in your everyday life. Believe it or not, people can change their mind about how they feel about certain women's rights topics. People can change their mind about how they feel about guns. You know, for example, I come from a state where a lot of people are gun owners, and my parents came from a background where no one really owned guns, but now my dad's a hunter, and you know, so I definitely see the value of guns, and I started forming my opinions based upon the community, what makes sense, and you know, I personally am a very community-based person, and so, you know, just things like that.
Yeah, and be respectful. You know, it's okay that you disagree with somebody. That's the main key. Don't get defensive if somebody disagrees with what you believe.
Yeah.
It's always good to keep it in the back of your head, all of us.
Take a breath, you know, like sometimes I disagree with something in the moment and then I chill out for a bit, you know, I'm like separated from the conversation for a while, and I can see a little more from the outside and realize, whoa, maybe I was a little intense or something. And so,
I do that a lot. I have a lot of moments where I'm like, okay, Dris, why did you get so defensive? And it's interesting because when we talk about like voting and how important it is, and a lot of people that don't vote, but if we didn't get so sometimes if we weren't passionate about these topics, we wouldn't get so defensive and we wouldn't get into these like heated debates. So I think like we care more than we want to admit about these things. So if you care so much about it, just go and exercise your right. You do have power. So I notice that a lot. Like sometimes we pretend like, oh, I don't care about voting, or it's not gonna make a difference. But if it didn't, you wouldn't be having like these like arguments with people about online or just in person about these topics that do matter to you. They do matter.
Hashtag TMR, total mind reset right there. I mean, just that awareness piece that Dris kind of brought up. I never thought about that before. You know, how if you get defensive because you care, and that's a reason maybe why you should go out and vote. You know, like if you care about something, connecting things that you care about and taking action.
Yeah.
So one thing I hear on occasion, people will say, man, I hope that everything works out all right. I hope that, you know, this happens or that happens. But I tell them, don't hope, act. Because then you can actually make a change. Like, you don't just have to hope. You have a much higher chance of having that hope actually happen because you did something to make what you wanted to happen. And so if anything, tomorrow, Tuesday, the polls are open. There's an opportunity for you to act, to, potentially have a little influence on who the leaders are going to be that are going to influence not only your life, but all the people around you as well. On Tuesday, for the blog post, we will also be posting about our community's response to voting, so make sure to check that out. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Jess.
You're welcome.
Bye.